This video will show you how to set some common power parameters on your laptop, particularly in order to disable sleep and hibernation mode and to control what happens when you close the lid. If you're very familiar with how your PC works with regards to its power, sleep, and hibernation, you don't need to watch this video. However, if you're like me, where you prefer your computer to be either on or off, and don't like to use sleep mode or hibernate mode, then this video will help you set up your computer so you have complete control and you will know exactly when your computer is either turned on or turned off. There are times when people get a little bit confused and they think their computer's turned off when it's actually in sleep mode, and they start carrying it around, and that's not actually good for the computer, and sometimes it'll go into a mode that they don't know how to get it out of, and they'll end up having to press the power button and recycle it. So it's really up to you if you want to watch this video, but this is how I set up all of my computers. The first thing you need to do is to start up Control Panel. Now I'm using Windows 7 here. Almost all other versions of Windows behave in just about the same manner. You go down to the Start area and you pick Control Panel. Now how your computer displays Control Panel can vary significantly. This is a more common setup. Sometimes you'll get lots of icons. Sometimes people have this set up by large icons here, or small icons, or you might even get something completely different. It really doesn't matter in terms of achieving what we need to achieve. It's just that if you're not seeing exactly what we're showing on the video here, you might have to look around a little bit to find the options that we're going to be using. I prefer to use the category option, and we're going to be going to System and Security, and we're going to be going to Power Options. And I work through these from top to bottom, and then I go back and check them. The other thing you may want to look at, if your computer offers it, is what power plans are available and which one is most appropriate to you. I'm actually going to change this to high performance because I pushed my machine pretty hard, and I recently re-imaged it and it went back to its default. So now everything that we change is going to be changing this plan setting right here. If you switch to a different plan setting, depending on your computer, you may have to go make these changes again. So the first thing we're going to do after picking the power plan we want to use is choose what the power buttons do. And what I've set up here is that I want, when it's on battery, when I press the power button, I want it to shut down. When I press the sleep button, I don't want it to do anything. When I close the lid, I do not want it to do anything. When it's plugged in, when I press the power button, I want it to shut down. When I press the sleep button, I want it to do nothing. When I close the lid, I want it to do nothing. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to save those changes. Now we're going to look at choose what closing the lid does. And this brought up the same screen as before, because when I close the lid is the bottom option right here. So they kind of mix them together when you get to this point, but treat them as separate items when you're on the previous menu. So we're going to look at choose when to turn off the display. And this is another place we have to be careful because they have sleep here as well. I don't know why they do that, but they do. And you want to change that to never, because you never want your computer to go to sleep when it's on battery, and you never want it to go to sleep when it's plugged in. So this is another option for making sure that the computer does not go to sleep on you. And if you want to look at the advanced power settings, you can do that. I don't generally change anything here. The defaults are usually okay. So we just want to review these. We're going to dim the display at 5 and 10 minutes, turn it off at 20 and 20 minutes, and we're never going to put the computer to sleep. We're going to save those changes. Then we're going to come down here and double check that. And put the computer to sleep is never, never. I always like to double check these things. Choose when to turn off the display. We're just going back and verifying that everything has been accepted. And again, put the computer to sleep is never, never. And everything else looks okay. So the changes that I've made so far have been accepted. We don't really need to set a password on wake up because we're now allowing the computer to sleep. So that shows the basic power settings that you need to set up if you want to have your computer be either on or off. So there are now two ways I can turn off this computer. I can use the normal shutdown, or I can just press the power button and that will invoke the shutdown function. Now if you're like me and you really like to make sure that everything you just did performed as expected, I like to go back and check these things. So I'm going to go back to System and Security. I'm going to go back to Power. And I'm just going to run through these one more time just to make sure that everything I think is set up is what's actually set up. Okay? Power button, shutdown, shutdown. Sleep button, nothing, nothing. Close lid, nothing, nothing. That's fine. That's exactly what I was expecting. Choose what closing the lid does. Nothing. Shutdown. Shutdown on the power button. Nothing on the sleep button. And again, as I mentioned before, closing the lid is actually here, even though they offered as a separate option on the previous menu. And we don't want anything to happen when we close the lid. So again, you can either scroll down here and click the cancel button, or you can hit the back button here. I'll hit the cancel button. Then we're going to look at the last thing. Actually, the next to last thing. Choose when to turn off the display. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Put the computer to sleep. Never, never. Good. And the very last thing, change when the computer sleeps. Put the computer to sleep. Never, never. Which again is on the previous screen that we've seen before. Microsoft tends to do that. So this will set up your computer where you have complete control. It will either be on or it will be off, and there'll be absolutely no confusion in your mind which state your computer is in, with the exception if you have a screensaver or if the screen actually turns itself off, you may think your computer's off, but it is still running. But typically you'll hear the fan running, and if you're concerned about doing anything and you want to make sure your computer's either running or not, then move the mouse button around or start clicking some keys or something. And generally, if your monitor has turned itself off, it should turn itself back on. And at that point, you realize your computer is running and does need to be shut down. On the other hand, if it is shut down, pressing any keys and moving the mouse button around will not cause the screen to activate, and your computer is in fact already shut down. This concludes this video.